dystopia warning. Now, I don't know how many of you have been watching the COVID inquiry, but it has made me understand, to quote the thick of it, why Elvis shot so many tellies. Now, this is just me going off-piste and ranting freestyle, I'll level with you. It's just pure rage, really. I'm going to be making a video about Operation Alice, Cygnus, Cygnet, the 3 pandemic preparedness exercises that were conducted in the last 13 years of this Conservative government prior to the COVID pandemic. And in those videos, it will show you that everything that this lot are coming out with is absolute bullshit. They knew something like this was coming over the hill. And what we're forced to endure, what the families, the COVID bereaved, are forced to endure every single day is a motley crew of incompetent, entitled, arrogant cunts coming out on telly daily to do nothing more than try and rehabilitate their own image or try to deflect from their own failings, or, I don't know, try to avoid criminal charges at some point in the future, because none of this pointless, futile exercise is actually going to result in criminal charges. No, they pray for an inquiry because it's a way for them to simultaneously try and absolve themselves and also at the same time know that they're not going to face any real repercussions for the terrible, catastrophic failings which led to hundreds of thousands of people dying. He is responsible for the deaths of tens of thousands of people in care homes. Yet people like ITV and Channel 4 rolling out that twat. They rolled out the bloody tractor wanker Neil Parish on some prison show alongside Johnny Mercer, a man that's so obsessed with himself I imagine that he wanks liberally in front of mirrors every night. So here we have this pound shop reformed incel who was too busy trying to touch up his aid whilst married during the pandemic to focus on his job, which was, I don't know, being health secretary during one of the worst crises that Britain's ever faced in peacetime. We just got Boris Johnson in, a man that only gives a fuck about trying to shag anything in sight, being loved by everyone for the, bizarre facade that he puts on. All he gave a shit about was trying to acquire loans so he could try and make the inside of Number 10 look like, I don't know, a fucking Turkish brothel. I don't know, keeping his child bride Carrie happy. A couple of weeks ago, they rolled out this dickhead, didn't they? Who fancies himself as some kind of wish version of Malcolm Tucker, who was one of the key advisors to Boris Johnson, yet at the same time has this personal grudge and vengeance that he wants to push out to the world, even though he's more than happy to take the money and more than happy to serve for a morally bankrupt piece of shit. He was too busy treating the thick of it like a hand guide, not taking any responsibility for the fact that it was his mad Brexit con that meant that we had a cabinet of incompetence under a Prime Minister so lacking in moral integrity that I had to stop comparing him to Fred West because it was insulting to Fred West. Just when you think it can't get any worse, they bust out Raab. It's like a revolving door, the who's who of useless, feckless, entitled shithouses. These people were taking vast sums of money to run our country into the ground. Jobs they probably only wanted so they could get those second, third, fourth, fifth jobs, I don't know. Lobbying for a gambling company. Gambling, which makes millions of people lose their livelihoods, lose their homes and succumb to crippling addiction. But it doesn't matter to them, does it? As long as they get a box at a football game so they can look like the fucking daddy, looking down on everyone like they look down on everyone in this country. I fucking had it with the lot of them. People are saying, oh, there's no real appetite, it's not really cutting through. Well, I wonder why a COVID inquiry that's going on for years that will result in no charges against these fuckers is not really cutting through with a public that at the moment are considering going on the fucking game just so they can pay their energy bill because this lot have fucked them financially up the arsehole. People that are wondering how they're going to get through Christmas. People with, I don't know, family members that have severe illnesses that are laying on hospital floors with no dignity for 12 hours because our NHS is in collapse. People have got bigger shit to deal with than sit there and be insulted by these useless pricks who have caused all the problems they're in but aren't going to face any real repercussions for it. Maybe that's something that people don't particularly look forward to, is having salt rubbed into the wounds of all the shit they've had to go through. It's also the fact that nobody expects anything less from them. Of course we expect them to have been too busy trying to get fucked in the stationery cupboard during one of the countless parties they were holding whilst we were all sitting at home watching our nan lowered into the ground on Zoom, Maybe we don't want to have to relive all that. Maybe we actually want them to face some legal consequences. Has anyone considered that? And then there's also the fact that the client media are too busy fluffing the lot of them because they all went to school together, or they all went to Eton together, or they all drink in the Carlton Club together, because this is how it fucking works. This is how the Daily Mail works. This is how the tabloids work. They're there to feed you bullshit lines fed to them by them lot. That milk tray sex pest is one of the worst of them. Sociopathically lacking in any form of empathy or accountability, just like the rest of them. And yet they've managed to con an entire working class of people into thinking that a bunch of Etonians are, you know, salt of the earth, competent, fiscally responsible. They've wasted £100 billion of our money. If we had any self-respect at all, Westminster would be on fire, but we don't. We sit there and we take it, and even like 20-odd% of people are still willing to vote for this lot, which is hardly surprising because they've fucked the education system, haven't they? They make politics a special little club that only they can be a part of, and that's not for the likes of us. No, we just have to suffer their decisions. We have to suffer no public services to turn to when we're in crisis because they've decided to pocket the money and buy yachts. No, we just have to suffer the consequences of their disastrous self-serving decisions, don't we? I fucking had it. So I'm going to be telling you in detail, in a less angry way, about Operation Cygnus, Alice Signet. Google them first and tell me that they're not responsible for 200,000 people plus being dead, plus, I don't know, the 100-odd thousand that were added to that list through austerity, which that pig fucker who has returned presided over. The inquiry is pointless. Do you know what I'd like to see from the new Labour government? Actually, as one of the priorities, jailing them. Or in my dream scenario, if you know, you want to go full Charlie Brooker, lock them in a bedsit on universal credit and make them relive the same day over and over again for thousands of years, of going to the cupboard to find no food, of being so cold they can see their breath, of being isolated and having absolutely no one to turn to, being stuck on hold to the council who can't do anything because this lot underfund councils, especially Labour councils, to make them look incompetent, so voters will blame them. So people don't have any resources. Make them live it. That would be my dream. My obsession. That or stick them on a fucking dinghy. I'm easy. Anyway, look out for my next video. Fuckers.